You've seen it 100 times. A diving catch gets a standing ovation, and a bobbled grounder sparks an argument. But in both cases, how do we really know if a defender made the right play? Evaluating defense has always been one of baseball's most difficult problems. The eye test is biased. And traditional stats, they just don't have enough information to accurately describe a fielder's impact on the game. That's where outs above average comes in, or OAA, the StatCast stat that replaced DRS and UZR as the go-to metric for defensive value. Today, we're breaking down what OAA is, how it works, and why teams are using it more than ever. Starting with the basics. OAA stands for outs above average, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It tells you how many outs a fielder made compared to an average defender at their position. Every defensive opportunity is graded individually: routine plays, tough plays, and impossible-looking catches. Each one gets a value, and if you make the tough ones more often than expected, you add outs above average to your total. So how does StatCast actually turn a diving catch or a bobbled grounder into a number that we can rely on? Well, with major advances in the way that we are able to quantify the game with the Hawkeye tracking system, we now have data points for exactly where each fielder is at any given point in time during a play, as well as batted ball metrics on where that ball ended up and how hard it was hit. By combining that information in separate ways for both outfielders and infielders, we can now compare what plays are typically made and which are not to determine how good an average major league defender actually is. For outfielders, it all starts with catch probability. StatCast looks at how far the outfielder has to go to make a play, how much time they have to get to where the ball is projected to land, and in what direction they're moving, front, back, or side to side. From that, it gives every batted ball a percentage chance of being caught based on previous data, and translate that into a single figure for each play when it comes to OAA. For example, if a ball has a 75% catch probability and the outfielder catches it, they earn a 0.25 addition to their OAA, which is the difference between the catch probability and 100%. If they miss it, a negative 0.75 value, which is the value of that catch probability, is subtracted from their season-long total of their OAA. You can then add those up over the course of a season, and you get the player's total OAA, the number of extra outs they've made compared to the average defender. As this is a cumulative stat, the more opportunities a fielder gets, the higher chance they have to accrue a higher OAA. The bigger the number, the better the defender. For infielders, that math changes a bit, because it's not about catching fly balls, it's about fielding ground balls. OAA for infielders includes how far the fielder must move to field the ball, how much time they have to get there, how far they are from the base the play is at, and how fast the runner is using their average sprint speed. This is where StatCast tracking really shines, because it knows exactly where the fielder started, the distance and time he had to make the play. Even if your shortstop is shifted into shallow right field, it still measures the exact distance and timing of the play. It takes all those complex data points of a baseball rocketing through the infield, the defender's location, and the base runner's speed and distance to the bag, and bakes it down into a relatively simple and easy to read value. Every ground ball becomes a timed race, and every out or missed out gets assigned different values according to that play's assigned difficulty. And real quick, whether you are new to the channel or a longtime subscriber, there's no better way to show your support than snagging one of these new Simple Sabermetrics hats off the shop tab right here on the channel. Repping the brand tells everyone you know that you're all about baseball analytics, so check them out for yourself today. Links in the description down below. Before StatCast, defensive stats like DRS and UZR did their best using zones, essentially chunks of the field manually tracked by companies like Baseball Info Solutions. They asked, did the fielder make the play in this zone as often as a league average? But here was the problem. Those zones were based on human coding and ballpark estimates. They didn't know where a player actually started on each play or how far they had to move down to the decimal. But it was way better than comparing fielders simply by their fielding percentage. As with all evolution of stats, we were doing the best with what we had. StatCast and the new Hawkeye tracking system simply evolved our abilities to measure the game. OAA uses tracking data, making it more objective and more precise than anything we've had access to before. So how do we actually read this stat? Let's say a shortstop finishes the season with a +10 OAA. That means that they had 10 more outs than the average shortstop would have made. A negative OAA doesn't mean someone is bad, necessarily, just that they're below league average. based on the balls that they had a chance to field. And as I mentioned before, because OAA is cumulative, volume matters. A player who plays every day has more chances to add value or lose it. When it comes to a set range for what actually is a good OAA, you can use the following as a guide. Below 0 is a below average defender. The bigger that negative number, the worse the defender. 0 to 5 is going to be your average to above average defenders. 5 to 10 describes your elite defenders, making many more plays than the average defender. And 10 to 20 will be the best of the best. These guys are in the mix for winning a Golden Glove every year. If you see anything above 20, you are witnessing a historic defensive season. One other note, OAA shines brightest at positions where range and reaction time dominate. Think shortstop, center field, and second base. First baseman, that gets a little trickier. Their value is often in scoops and stretches, things OAA doesn't capture well. Catchers, the same deal. OAA does not track framing or blocking. That's an entirely separate set of metrics. So when comparing OAA across positions, remember that context is key. A +5 OAA in center field might not mean the same thing as a +5 at third base. In 2025, we saw a handful of really special defenders. A total of 6 players accrued an OAA of 20 or above, being led by PCA of the Cubs, leading all outfielders with an OAA of 24. He tied with Bobby Witt Jr., who led all of infielders with a 24 as well at shortstop. Your top 6 looks a little something like this. And to nobody's surprise, all 6 of these defenders won Golden Gloves this year. So, let's talk about strengths and weaknesses of today's best defensive statistic. The strengths of OAA is using objective tracking data with very precise measurements. It adjusts for the difficulty of plays, and for the average fan, once you understand the range of good and bad, it's relatively easy to read. Its limitations, it doesn't cover scoops, tags, or framing, hurting certain position groups. It's certainly a difficult calculation if you're looking to do it on your own, and it's impossible to track at lower levels without advanced player tracking technology. So that's why no single defensive stat is perfect. But OAA gets us closer than anything we've had access to before. How do teams and analysts use OAA? Well, front offices now use it to evaluate defensive free agents, align infield and outfield positioning, develop young players with measurable goals, and integrate defensive value into contract decisions and war models. It's not just a stat for fans anymore, it's a tool for building rosters and winning games. Because when it comes to measuring position players, half of the game is spent in the batter's box and half of the game is spent out in the field. Being able to quantify both sides of the ball is incredibly important when it comes to signing multi-million-dollar contracts. Outs above average doesn't just ask, did you make the play? It asks, how hard was the play? And did you do it better than the average defender? That's what makes this one of the most powerful and honest stats in the modern game. If you want to better understand defensive value in 2025 and beyond, start with OAA. And if you like this breakdown, check out our videos on xERA, CSW percentage, and StatCast run value. And don't forget to grab one of the new Simple Sabermetrics hats to flex your new baseball stat knowledge. Links down below. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you guys next week.